Bonjour.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, okay. You?
Okay. It's Friday. Yeah.
We made it to the weekend, thank God.
Yes, we made it. Wow. So you heard the news?
Yeah.
Neal Peart passed away.
Yep.
67. Wow. I was just watching their, was it one of their final, I think it was their final show that was on,
Oh,
can't remember if it was on Netflix or I watched it, but yeah. Wow. Crazy.
yeah. And brain cancer, right?
Yeah.
Same thing that took Gord Downey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think it's exactly the same, but
No, maybe
probably,
not. Yeah, I guess not exactly the same.
but yeah, wow. That's crazy. Crazy. Yeah. So what was your introduction to Rush?
You?
Me?
I'll be honest. It was listening to you, like listening through your bedroom door and hearing you have it cranked and playing along
Right.
and going like, what the hell is this? This doesn't sound like Kiss, because at the time Kiss was my band.
Right.
Like, this is like alien. Like Kiss, it's all plotting riffs and very, very simplified. And hearing those drums, like what I always thought Peter Criss was like the best drummer in the world, and then you hear Neal Peart. Sorry, I'm shivering a little bit. My car's not quite warmed up.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's like watching, I don't know, a sitcom on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then next you're watching, I don't know, like The Godfather or something. It's like day and night. It's
Apples and oranges.
yeah, literally. Like it's like going in grade one and then, first year of grade one, your first year of university.
Right.
The Kiss stuff was very simple and very, 3-chord rock and straightforward. And
right.
And then Rush was just, the palette was so big. So that's what you introduced me to. You introduced me to music that had more technicality, and that's what Rush is.
Yeah, it was a whole different format than any other music that was out there.
Yeah.
They had their own, I don't want to say genre, but it's definitely, they don't follow the same formula as any other type of band.
No,
Unless,
no one came close.
Unless I'm mistaken, and there is, but to me, I mean, that's the only band I've ever really heard that was so diverse and complex. Other
It was
than,
kind of like, you remember you watched that documentary, right?
Yeah.
And, discussing like, they're working through an album and working through the songs, and they don't just like verse, chorus, repeat. They don't do that. It's like, well, this part is missing something. And then they would spend all this time just making it intricate and adding like little accents that didn't really need to be there. But for them, it was, so freaking important.
It was important. Yeah. The way that they told the story. Was the way that, because he was the main, I think he was, I don't know, was he the main lyricist?
He was the lyricist from album 2, which he came in on, which was Fly By Night.
Okay.
Because he wasn't the original drummer.
Right.
He had to audition. Yeah. Well, going back, what was your introduction? Like, I actually don't know the story of how Todd and Rush.
Actually, we did discuss this, actually. Yeah. This was at Cousin Randy's.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, tell the story again, because it doesn't get old.
Well, when we used to go visit Uncle Ronnie and Todd John, Randy, I don't think Randy was there, so I just basically just went and was listening to his music and stuff. And he had a lot of country stuff and whatnot. But he had some albums that I figured, I'll try it out. And I put on, he had Exit Stage Left. So yeah, when I first heard that and 2112, I was just in awe because we were just used to.
So wait, so which two albums again?
2112.
Yeah.
And Exit Stage Left.
Oh, so you did have it alive. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, because when I heard Exit Stage Left, and then I had a choice at the time, I think it was my birthday, and it was either the Eagles live double album or Rush, the double album. I took the Rush one.
Good choice.
And I played it and played it and played it and stretched out the tape.
You actually had, so did you, because you heard it on vinyl, but you got it on cassette.
No, I heard it on cassette because Randy had a really good stereo, those portable stereos, but it had a wide function. And as soon as you hit the wide, it was like someone just opened it right up. It's almost like you're in a closet listening to a concert and someone opens the door and you walk out, like it's just a big wall of, of sound. It just kind of filled, and that just kind of enhanced the experience, you could say. And from then I was hooked. And then I had Uncle Junior's, which I still have, his Telly's Mansfield. And also he had a Fender basement amp, with Jensen speakers, and they had a bunch of Kleenexes stuffed in the cones and stuff because they would rattle. And then one of the power tubes, you'd have to kind of wiggle it to make sure that it's seated correctly, so that so it would come on. You could tell it was working if he had a little light that would come on inside the tube. You could tell it was working. So. But yeah, and then from there, graduated from that, and then I had my PV Renown, and then I had the Strat that I was playing through, and that's what I played Rush. God, I just played it and played it and played it and played it, and then when I get together with Zap, Mark, we played Rush, and then from there. Mike had come in to play bass, and then after a while, I think Mark was into the bodybuilding thing, didn't have as much time, so we kind of switched off. So Mike ended up playing drums, because Mike was playing, he had bought in a pawn shop, he had bought a bass that was, it looked like a plywood body, and it was fretless. It was a fretless bass. So, I mean, your first stringed instrument was a fretless bass. So, trying to learn on that. So, yeah, so then Mike picked up the drums.
Did he start drumming at that time?
What's that?
Is that when Mike started drumming? Or had he played before?
I think I'm not too sure what was what the motivation was to actually take the drums. But I think, he wanted to play the drums, obviously, so he bought a set of drums, and he had rototoms and the whole deal. And then Norm picked up the bass, and he joined in with us. So we would jam every Friday night. We'd go to Mike's. Norm would be there. He'd have his bass set up, and I had my guitar set up, and we'd jam till 9:00 or whatever, and then we'd jump in Mike's Chevette and go all the way down to Moncton and hang out at McDonald's and Burger King.
Who had the Chevette?
What's that?
Chevette. Who's Chevette?
Chevette. I think Mike's parents had a Chevette.
Oh, that's what Mike had. Okay.
And I think he bought speakers or something and put them in there, and just kind of bopping away out in Moncton, driving around. Yeah, those were fun times. When people say you're what they say with the kids, the best time of your life is when you're younger, type thing. But there's a lot going on. Like with school, there's a lot of things going on, because you're constantly with friends and things that are happening, like that, for instance. And right now I'm playing with some guys at work, which is just as fun, but it never gets old. But playing Rush was one of my favorite favorite things to do. I think I played it back to back, and I didn't have any tab, and I didn't have any. This was all by ear.
No,
This
it's
was
all
all.
figuring it out.
This was all by ear,
Yeah.
and I know, and since then I've bought the actual Rush book, and it's thick, and it's got oh geez, I don't know how many songs are on there, about 20 or 30 or so,
Yeah.
with all the tab and stuff and how to play it. And I
You
wanted
go
it.
back, you look at it though, and then go, "Oh crap, I've been playing it wrong all along," or what?
You
I'm
know
curious.
what? When you play by ear, I mean, you have a good idea, depending on how much experience you've had and the style of music and how complicated and things that you're learning. I mean, if you're playing Johnny Cash, by ear and stuff, and then you jump into Rush, it's like it's a whole different. I mean, you have to kind of dive in and listen. And once you listen to the song so many times, you don't even have to play it. Like you can play it in your head, so you know exactly how it sounds, where the changes are, and the whole bit. So when you're learning by ear, that's what you have to kind of rely on, is your memory and where you think those sounds go. I know there's courses and stuff you can take. I've never taken them. I should. I've always wanted to, but just been kind of lazy. I just kind of like just picking it up and just playing. Even to sit down with tab, I just don't have the attention span for it, I guess, because I'll get there and I'll start looking at the notes. Okay, fifth fret, third string, and then you go to the next one. And by the time you've got to the third note, it's like, okay, how did that go again? And then you start noodling, and then you start doodling, and then you start, and then all of a sudden you're playing something totally different, totally irrelevant, and then you totally get away from what you wanted to do. But it's all in the name of fun.
I think I find the same thing. Like, I remember because I started drumming at 15. Dad had bought me my kit.
Mm-hmm.
Just around the same time, I think you got yours around 15 as well, right? You're on guitar.
Yeah.
And
you were here when you had your first kit, right?
That's right. We had just moved, and it was probably, I don't know, maybe that's an exaggeration, but at the time it felt like the worst year of my life. And I know Dad felt bad, like, he uprooted us. I mean, it was the right thing, and it needed to be done to move away from home, come here.
Yeah.
But it needed to be done. Like, Dad had to fight for his family, and that's exactly what he did, and that's why we moved here.
Right.
But he felt bad, and, like, I guess, our old man, Todd, was a smart fucking guy.
Yeah.
He was able to, he knew intuitively or whatever. He always knew, to buy that right gift or to say that right thing. Like, I don't know, he had some good instinct, and he knew that's what would take me out, because if I was at home and I didn't have any friends and I'm just moping around in my bedroom, because that's what I did all the time. I moped around. I was a miserable person. And then I got those drums.
Mm-hmm.
And, suddenly it's like I'd gone up a level in a game or something. It's like, I know you had a rough year, and, this is what's going to do it. Like, you don't have a lot of friends. You have a lot of free time in your hands because you don't have any friends.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this sort of focus is going to get you out of your funk. And it got me out of my funk for sure.
Yeah. Well, I remember. Yeah.
Then, like,
yeah, I remember the house when we first moved here. The basement wasn't done yet.
Yep.
So when we first moved in, Dad was renovating the basement, and he had made 2 rooms, so one for you, one for me. And I remember you had your drums in that room, and then I had
in the closet. Dad had built a walk-in closet along the back wall, and that's where I put my drums. It wasn't a walk-in closet, but it was just like a wall with a big rod, like to hang your clothes from.
Okay.
And that's where I shoved it.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, you're going to say, but
yeah. No. That's So you had your stuff on your side, and then I had on my side. And I'm just trying to remember the layout. And I think as soon as you walked in,
I remember it.
End table, dresser. That was back in the day when we had water beds.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you had this super single. I remember that. It had a blue bladder on it. Mine was like a brown beige bladder. It was a queen size, had baffles in it.
Oh yeah, you had the beige one, yeah. That's right.
An awesome frame, like a hardwood frame,
Oh,
beautiful
yeah.
headboard. Oh yeah, it was not like the crap you buy nowadays.
No, not at all.
All that pressed
Um, yeah,
sawdust.
I lost my waterbed when my cat Sam Amadeus. I don't know if you remember I had a cat.
That's when you were in the apartment?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't have had it at
Yeah.
home because Mom was allergic to cats, and I think I was allergic to cats at that point too.
Yeah. He found a couple of push pins, and he used to play with them. And he got it in the corner of the waterbed. The corner, because I mean the waterbed has like rounded sides, right?
Right.
So he got it in there, and he just kept playing with it in there. And I came home, and there was water everywhere.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
In the apartment.
Yeah.
Did it soak the floor, or was it just to the point where?
It was like when I got home, it had leaked a bit, and at that point, I'm like trying to somehow. How do you move a bladder full of water that's leaking, and move it somewhere so it can drain? Like, how do you get it to a bathtub? That thing weighs a fucking ton.
Yeah, you'd have to drain most of it. I mean, you had to drain most of it just to get it, just to move it anywhere, really.
So I'm like trying to find a hose to hook up to it. So I'm like, maybe I can lift it a little bit and it'll start going out the hose. So I found some duct tape and tried to attach the hose to the
good old duct tape.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, back on the topic. But when I started drumming, because I had always wanted to be a drummer, and Dad knew that,
right?
And it was Peter Criss all the way for me. And then you were playing Rush. I'm like, oh God. Well, I'll stick to Kiss because I can play some of those songs, and I kind of, my thought was always, I could play that. I could never. Rush was that unattainable goal that I wasn't even going to try for. So as much as I liked Neal Peart, but I never would try playing his stuff. But I was always cognizant of how he was an amazing lyricist for sure,
mm-hmm.
but he was also an amazing composer. Like the way he composed the drum parts, it wasn't like, okay, the guitar player comes up with a riff and the drummer just plays along. That it didn't work that way with him. He was, as a songwriter, writing the drum parts. Like I don't think any two songs of Rush have the same exact beat. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but he always tried to have a different beat for each and every single song.
No, like AC/DC. I think AC/DC, every beat's
no.
the same.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it was never like that. So it was, that's what impressed me. I'm like, when I started writing songs, I'm like, I've got a million songs with the same beat for sure, but like, how do you, like, I was always cognizant of it, and I try to push myself to be as creative as possible. And I think maybe because of Neal Peart, I started focusing more on singing. It was sort of that I'll never be this good, I might as well sing sort of thing.
Okay. Wow.
But we did jam a fair amount of Rush stuff,
mm-hmm.
because I mean that's what you always wanted to play. So we would play, Back in Black or something, and then they're like, oh, let's do a YYZ or something, and I'm like, fuck you. And I just
arms are ready to fall off after the first song.
Oh God. Yeah, but I mean, I can play a few things, but I can never. The one thing I always had trouble getting around was his fills, because his fills were very unique. Like he wouldn't. Common thing for drummers to do the same fill. When you're doing a fill, it's this fill,
right.
And you might change if you're starting with the left hand or the right hand, or when you come in or when you come out of it. Like you might change a few of those things a little bit,
mm-hmm.
but they're essentially the same drum fill. Especially if you've got two high toms and a floor tom. Like there's not, like, how much variation can you have? But then you hear Neal Peart and he's like, even though his kits got bigger and bigger and bigger, he was still like his tom work and all that he was never emulating. He was never doing the same types of roles over and over again. He was very inventive.
Right.
And, from a writing perspective, like composing and putting the songs together, it must have been frustrating to play with him.
Well,
because he's like, just play the fucking beat, Neal. Like just play a fucking beat. Like, no, it's not good enough. Like just astounding. Like I can't think the only other drummer for me that comes close to that creativity. And yeah, he's a fast drummer and he can play all this complicated stuff. But from the creativity side, there's only one other drummer that's even in the same ballpark, and that's the drummer for Soundgarden, who never plays the same beat twice. Like he's very cognizant of composition and structure, and don't just play the beat that fits. Make up something.
Right.
To me, that was his greatest gift. Yeah, he was a good drummer, but it wasn't just for how fast he could play. It was how inventive he was from a songwriting perspective. For me, anyway.
It's the same as playing guitar. I mean, you can play a million miles an hour, but if there's no feel and there's no substance to it, like that's all you're doing is playing a million miles an hour. So
exactly.
but he had, I mean, every note he hit was there for a reason.
And when he added,
that's how
like
I
when
felt.
he added. Yeah, and when he added to his kit, it wasn't just, hey, look, I got the biggest kit, because all the other drummers were doing the same thing. Oh, my kit's bigger. I've got four bass drums, and no, I've got 6 bass drums. And it's like, well, why? But he actually had a function for every piece in that kit. It was, it was to be more creative and to try different things. Like, he didn't have the biggest kit. It wasn't like penis envy or anything. It was. That boy used his kit, man. Like he used everything on that kit.
Yeah, I mean, he even used electronic drums at some point. I don't know if it was Presto or there was a couple other ones prior, but I mean, with
the live album they did, the second live, I guess the one after Exit Stage Left when they released that. I can't remember what it was called, but I have it. Show of Hands, I think. And his drum solo incorporated. What's that?
Was it Show Me Don't Tell or something?
Well, Show Don't Tell was one of the songs on there, but I think a Show of Hands was the album. Can't remember. I had it on cassette, but it was good, and his drum solo incorporated all that stuff in there, all that.
Did the album cover, was it red and it had like little bubbles or something in the front?
No, it was white and blue.
White and blue.
It was white with splashes of blue, I think. And
wow.
I don't know. It was mostly white anyway. But yeah, it was. If you're going to listen to another Rush live album, that's a good one to listen to, because it's got a lot of the 80s stuff that kind of gets overlooked.
Right.
The better stuff from the 80s. And they, like Kiss did with the live 1 and 2, they tried not to copy the same songs from album to album. Tried to have it be a whole new experience, like another chapter.
Right.
So that was kind of good. Like I think there might be like 1 or 2 songs from Exit Stage Left.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's worth listening to.
Yeah, I had tapes that I had made, like Signals. I didn't have. What's the other one? What were the big pictures? Moving pictures. I didn't have any of those, so I had to tape them. So I had one tape, and it was one of those 90-minute tapes or 120-minute tapes that was super long, which meant that after a while the tape would stretch. And you'd start hearing squealing noises and whatnot.
Yep.
But I had that prior to even actually having the tape. Because after that, I think I had just bought the CDs, like when that came out. And that was years and years later. But like I was saying, like it was ZZ Top, when they came out the Eliminator album, anything prior to that was regular drums. Once it hit that, it was like the electronic phase was official. Okay, it came in. Rush was no exception. Neal did the same thing. He did a different flavor of it, and I think he did a tasteful flavor of it. It was different from what everyone else was doing, which was good.
It still sounded like Neal Peart. It didn't sound like a machine.
Right. I mean, there was a lot of what is it? As soon as he hit it, basically it would trigger an effect or something. But at least it was. It all melded very, very nicely. Very nicely. And if you go to the concerts, like I went to the last 2 concerts? The one where they had all the not snakes and ladders. I keep wanting to say snakes and ladders.
Slings and arrows? I can't remember what that was called now.
Snakes and Arrows? Yeah. The thing is that the later albums, I stopped kind of following them because it was like a whole different, they kind of went, like, as soon as the 80s were done, they kind of switched gears, which is fine. I mean, you have to kind of
They always
evolve.
did, right?
But
they didn't want to be the same band all the time.
But I mean, going to the concert, I mean, you went to the Snakes and Arrows concert and they played all their new stuff and people were wandering, go and get a beer and no one was really paying attention. And then once they got into their classic stuff, everybody was there and the place just erupted. It just pumping out music and everybody, you could just feel it in the air. It was just so intense and just everybody was just, I just can't even explain it. You'd have to be there. Yeah. But if you were there, you'd understand.
Well, was that the one that had the rotisserie chickens?
Yes, in the background.
Okay. I was there with you. Yeah, for that one.
There was that one, and then what was the other album? Yeah,
so you saw them twice.
I believe.
Oh shit!
I believe I did. Yeah.
Well, the second time, I guess I wasn't there with you. I saw them for that one. But...
One of them, it was almost like a steampunk theme.
No, you saw that one, Clockwork Angels.
That's it, Clockwork Angels. Yeah. So I saw both. Yeah.
Oh man!
But the thing is, with both of them, I mean, the music was good. Of course, you can't really bop to it. You can't really, because you don't know. Like if you've listened to Rush tunes, it's not something where it's just a bump, 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 and you kind of beat your head like.
No, you don't get in. You have to grow into the album.
Like all that BPM music and stuff, where everybody's like, everything's kind of a certain beat. Where I don't know if it matches your heart rate or whatever it is, whatever mental thing.
There's a formula there.
Yeah, whatever.
There's a formula there.
Yeah, so I mean, when you listen to Rush, you can't. That's not the type of music. When you know it, you know what the changes are. You can kind of, okay, now it goes into this, and now it goes into that. And when it's a new song, and it hasn't been out long enough for you to really listen to it, it kind of gets lost, which is a shame. Yeah. But I truly, truly love the stuff that they came out in the early days.
I think you should go back and listen to Clockwork Angels. It is really good. Actually,
it is good. Yeah. But the thing is,
but you have to listen to it a bunch of times. Because I remember when you introduced me to Exit Stage Left, I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at all.
Well, it's the same idea.
Hearing you play it.
Yeah, you have to listen to it.
And then you're actually like really listening. Right. Like you can't surface listen to Rush until you know the songs.
Yeah.
Like they're too good for that. This isn't Britney Spears or Taylor Swift where it's instantly catchy or hooky, and then you like it, and then you get so sick and tired of it because it's too catchy. This is smart music, really well crafted, written music.
Yeah, well, you know how many times I played it, right?
Oh yeah.
I played it till the thing wore out and bought more tapes to try and play again. It's not like you're listening to either Honeymoon Suite or April Wine or all these, and you listen to one song, and if you listen to it over and over again, it's like, oh my God, kill me. I mean, no matter how good the song is or where it is on the Billboard, it doesn't matter. Even nowadays, I mean, you'll have a number one tune and they can play it to death, and it's like, oh, for crying out loud, that song again.
Yeah.
But Rush,
there's nothing going on. Like there's no complexity to some of the music that comes out nowadays. There is to some stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But some stuff, it's like, look, I've got a bass line. It's 3 notes long. I'm going to repeat it for the next 3.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And for the drums, it's a computerized thing that only has a snare and a hi-hat. Snare and a hi-hat, and that's it. And that's going to repeat for 3.5 minutes. But it's all about the lyrics. Mm-hmm. Like that's what for me, a song is more than just the lyrics. It's the last thing I listen to.
Well,
but anyway, sorry, go on.
But honestly, like I've said in the past, lyrics, those are second to me. There's some songs to this day, I still have no idea what the lyrics are. Every once in a while, I'll go, like, what are they singing about in this song? And then you read the lyrics, and holy crap, I didn't know that's what it was about. Because I was
a Rush song, though, like especially with a Rush song.
And especially Rush songs, they're very. I mean, didn't you say that you had studied university and you had studied actual songs from Rush because they actually had like a certain formula or meaning, or I'm not too sure what it was.
He doesn't follow Peart doesn't follow formula with his lyric writing.
Right.
It's all about the story, and it's not about we can't have another verse here because you're not following the ABBA, the ABBA song structure. But I'm telling a story. I need another verse. It was all about telling the story, and I think my understanding, is the lyrics come first, and they craft the music around the lyrics, which is a completely different way to approach, general songwriting.
Right.
But like if you listen to the song, just purely random, the song "The Trees."
Right.
I think you know the lyrics, some of the lyrics to that one, I'm sure. Or do you? There was unrest in the forest. There's a problem with the trees.
Right.
The maples have formed. The maples have formed a union.
See, like when you listen to that, it's like, you know what? To me, it's a bunch of gibberish. I have no idea what he's trying to say and what he's talking about. So for me, when I hear that song, all I'm hearing is the classical guitar going ding, 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 the whole thing, and then ramping up where everybody jumps in.
It's like a lot of the songs were analogies to things going on in the world. And The Trees was all about how the oak trees, which are the big trees, they get all the light, they get all the power, they get all the, they have the positions of power in the forest, and the smaller trees get nothing.
You know what?
And that's what the song's about.
When you think
but it's an analogy to, unions and corporations, and
it basically it's philosophy. I think that's all he did was he sang about philosophy. It wasn't like, you know what, my girlfriend dumped me and she took my dog and I got a flat on my truck, and that's what they sing about, and people eat it up. But but it's like cheesecake. I mean, you can write a song and it's cheesecake, but it's very rich. You can only take so much of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. How's that for depth?
I like that.
The cheesecake theory.
I like cheesecake, but I like a cake that it's a little less sweet.
Yes.
Maybe a little tart that has more complexity to it.
Here's something just random. You like chocolate?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Superstore, PC brand. They have a chocolate bar.
Superstore?
Is
that the sister company, the Superstore?
The
Superstore.
Yeah. They've got a big bar. You know those great big bars you can buy?
Oh yeah.
Not huge, but I mean they're about a foot or so long.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have one there that it has almonds and it has chocolate.
Yeah, I know the one, yeah.
Okay.
I've bought it quite a few times.
Okay. So now you can buy the other brand like Lindt or other, right?
Oh, yeah.
Or the fruit and nut and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very, very sweet. I got onto these PC brand ones, which are the almond. I think you can get hazelnut and whatnot, but I get the milk chocolate with the almond. I think you can get dark chocolate also, but it doesn't have.
Yeah, they have amazing dark chocolate bars.
Yeah, and it's not as sugary as the other one. And that one I can eat, and I can eat, and I can eat. It's like Rush, and that's what I mean by the cheesecake theory. It's like you can only have so much of the sweet one, but you can eat a hell of a lot more of the other one. But
there's more complexity to that dark chocolate one, or there's lots of different flavors in there. There's it's a perfect blend of a whole bunch of different things, and when you eat it, you don't get sick off of it. You're like, wow, like the mix of flavors. It's like if you go to a really good restaurant versus someone just making grilled cheese,
Right.
But someone making grilled cheese with brie and there's a hint of cilantro or I don't know, like it's I want a grilled cheese right now.
Making yourself hungry.
Oh, I make wicked grilled cheeses. Like they're not just cheese slice well, we talked about this in that episode before, but there's a way to make a goddamn grilled cheese sandwich, and there's a way to make just a grilled cheese sandwich.
Actually, I had one yesterday. Actually, I had two of them yesterday.
But I'd rather have a goddamn grilled cheese sandwich.
Now, do you know? I mean, I don't know if a lot of musicians, I guess, especially like Led Zeppelin and AC/DC and Iron Maiden and, you know, whatever, Ozzy, and, you know, the drug scene was fairly thick, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Now with Rush, I don't know if I ever heard of anything that they, you know, if they were into that at all, or
No. Nope.
because Neal was so in depth, or maybe his brain just worked that way on its own without having to have all this extra.
You liked a good stiff whiskey. I read a few things today.
Right.
Who was it? Chuck D from Public Enemy was talking about it today, of all people, just to show the range of influences Ben fucking had.
Oh yeah.
But he's saying, I remember they were on, I don't know, it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were backstage, just the two of them, and they were having a whiskey together, I think is what he said.
Okay.
And just talking, and he's like, wow, like this guy, like fascinating, like just a fascinating guy. Like he wasn't a party guy. He's a guy that liked to sit down, maybe have a whiskey, but to talk about deep shit, not getting all, you know, messed up. And no, this was like serious, you know, philosophical discussions about life and stuff like that. And that's the kind of band they were. Right. And to add further to that, they did open for Kiss. Kiss really gave them a massive break.
Right.
By having them open for them and break them out to the U.S. market. Mm-hmm. The reason that Gene Simmons loved playing with Rush and was friends with them right to the end.
Right.
He's still friends with them. Like the reason he enjoyed playing with them is because they weren't party guys.
They weren't what? Sorry.
Gene, you can say all you want about Gene Simmons, but he always took the band seriously. Maybe, you know, some of the songs are cheesy or hokey, but being a professional and showing up on time, mm-hmm. and, you know, doing the job that you're expected to do. Like Gene is like,
well, Gene's a no nonsense business guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what he liked about playing with Rush. They didn't fuck around. They knew they had a great opportunity opening for them, and, you know, they didn't spoil it. And they had a lot. They toured together for a really long time, right. From my recollection. And it was just like, it was so easy to work with Rush, is what he said. It was just great.
Well, I mean, they're Canadian, and
yeah.
But they're trying to get into the music.
The stories he shared was that they were hilarious. Like I think he said, like, they're the funniest band in tour with. Like no one was funnier than those guys. That Canadian, you know, wit.
Right.
You know.
Just easygoing.
Yeah.
I think Neal was a fairly private guy, so it wasn't like he, and being philosophical, and dealing with people, and them seeing that, and you could see it in his music. So that was just him, like that was pure.
But he was
Neal.
funny though. He just had a super dry sense of humor that you had to get to know him.
Well, I was surprised because when they actually had that documentary out, that last one that they put out, he was a lot more open in that than I've ever heard him in anything else. Because he's not usually the type of guy who, I mean, it was only within the last 10 years, I think, that he's actually did interviews and stuff like that, where they actually sat down and talked, you know, spoke with him.
Yeah.
And it's...
I want to go back and rewatch that. That documentary was really good. Like, really good.
Yeah, I might have to do that, too.
Yeah. You know what? That's maybe a good way to end off. R.I.P. A lot of people saying he's the GOAT, the God of all things. Yeah, definitely the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be missed.
Oh, for sure.
But he left behind a legacy that, I mean, he's going to be remembered 1,000 years from now.
Oh yeah.
No other drummer will have that same name appeal as, you know, Peart. I don't care who you are.
Right. Very true.
Props in my book, man.
Very true.
Yep.
All right then.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to put this one up on Monday. Screw the other stuff we did. I'll put that up later. But I think this was important to talk about. But thanks for listening. I feel better talking about it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
get
bro.
It all out.
Yep. Get it all out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you on the flip side. Love to the family.
Yes. Same. All righty.
Yep.
We'll talk to you later.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.